Take picture. Stop recording video. Button. Skip drive.
All right. We're going to hope and pray that this works because it has a habit of, not working. So I'm going to prop you up here, and here we are. Live in the Wettlaufer basement. It's a little bit on the tropical side outside. I've got my lawn mowing done and my garden's rototilled, so I think it's time to cram in another fun-filled, action-packed adventure of my weirder school. Miss Beard is Weird by Gutman. In one volume, Braille pages, how about nobody cares, transcriber, nope. Okay, anyway, while I track this down, hopefully everyone's having themselves a good summer. In case you're curious, this was published in 2012 by Gutman himself. Oh, nope, and HarperCollins something or other. Contents, here we go. Chapter 1, Hooray for Mr. Klutz. Chapter 2, Chicky Baby. Chapter 3, Act Normal. Chapter 4, Reality is Boring. Chapter 5, Elementary Idol. Chapter 6, Dancing with the Teachers. Chapter 7, The Stunt Teacher. Chapter 8, Free for All. Woo. Chapter 9, We're Outta Here. Chapter 10, Very Funky. Chapter 11, Grab That Cash. Yes, please. And Chapter 12, I hate when that happens. My Weirder School, Miss Beard is Weird by Gutman. Chapter 1, Hooray for Mr. Klutz. My name is AJ, and I hate it when a helicopter lands on my head. Okay, so a helicopter never really landed on my head, but I'm pretty sure that if a helicopter ever did land on my head, I would hate it. Wouldn't you? My teacher, Mr. Granite, is from another planet. He's been pretty angry lately, too. Every time he tries to teach anything, an announcement comes on over the loudspeaker telling us to go for an assembly. Mr. Granite gets so mad that he yanks the loudspeaker right out of the wall. Okay, today we are going to talk about the Civil War, Mr. Granite told us. Turn to page 23 in your... He didn't get the chance to finish his sentence because you'll never believe who poked her head into the door at that moment. Nobody. It'd hurt if you poked your head into a door. Why would anybody want to do that? That's dumb. But you'll never believe who poked her head into the doorway. It was Mrs. Patty, the school secretary. I've been trying to reach you, she told Mr. Granite. Who yanked your loudspeaker out of the wall? Everyone has to report to the all-purpose room for an assembly. Not again, yelled Mr. Granite. Surprise assemblies are fun because you never know what's going to happen. That's why they're called surprise assemblies. We had to walk 1,100,000 miles to the all-purpose room. I don't know why they call it an all-purpose room because we can't use it for all purposes. I mean, you can't use it to fly into outer space, so why is it called the all-purpose room? Anyway, we had to sit boy, girl, to make sure we didn't sit next to anybody we liked. I had to sit between annoying Andrea and her crybaby friend Emily. Ugh, disgusting. I made sure not to let my elbows touch theirs. Mr. Klutz, our principal, was up on the stage. He has no hair at all. Great news, everybody, Mr. Klutz told us. Our budget problems are solved. I'm happy to report that we can buy new computers and supplies. We can bring back the arts and music program. We can hire all the teachers who were fired. We can turn on the water fountains again and put toilet paper back in the bathrooms. Hooray for Mr. Klutz, everybody. was whistling and shouting and jumping up and down. Where'd you get the money to do all that? He must save a lot of money on shampoo and for hair dryers and stuff. Asking our librarian, Mrs. Rupee, did you get a grant? Nope, said Mr. Klutz. Are taxes going up? Asked the school nurse, Mrs. Cooney. No, said Mr. Klutz. Are we going to have to fundraise? Asked Dr. Brad, the school counselor. No, said Mr. Klutz. The money is coming from the famous TV producer, Miss Beard. She's making a new reality show, and she's going to shoot it right here. It is going to be called The Real Teachers of Elementary School. Eek! All the teachers were freaking out. We're going to be on TV, screamed our speech teacher, Ms. Laney. We're going to be famous, screamed our voice teacher. Oh, no, sorry. Our vice principal, Mrs. Jaffe. How does my hair look? Screamed our computer teacher, Mrs. Yonkers. What am I going to wear? Screamed our Spanish teacher, Ms. Holly. I have nothing to wear. Teachers are weird. Wee little sip of coconut water. It's kind of fun. It's little pieces and you gotta chew. And nothing screams fun like chewing your drink. All right, chapter 2, Chicky Baby. Over the weekend, my parents had to sign a contract that I brought home in my backpack. The contract said they couldn't sue anyone if I fell into a well or got eaten by a lion or run over by a train or if a helicopter fell on my head during the filming of The Real Teachers of Elementary School. When I got to school on Monday morning, everybody was out front, dressed up in their nicest clothes. I had to wear a tie. Blech. It looked like we were all going to a wedding or a funeral or something. We had to wear badges too, so people watching on TV would know our names. The teachers were running around, warning us to be on our best behavior for Mrs. Beard. She's a big celebrity, and she was coming all the way from Hollywood. The girls were giggling and talking nervously to each other. My mom took me to the beauty parlor yesterday, said Andrea. It looks like she took you to the ugly parlor, I told Andrea. Oh, snap, said Ryan, who will eat anything, even stuff that isn't food. Andrea stuck her tongue out at me. My mom took me for a pedicure, said Emily. What's a pedicure? Asked Michael, who never ties his shoes. That's when they soak your feet and paint your toenails, Emily told us. Do you think they're gonna make a TV show about your toenails? Asked Neil, who we all called the nude kid, even though he wears clothes. Boys are mean, said Emily. Do you think this dress makes me look fat? Andrea asked the other girls. Yes, I told her. I wasn't asking you, Arlo. Andrea called me by my real name because she knows I don't like it. I wanted to make fun of her, so some more. But at that moment, the most amazing thing in the history of the world happened. A black limousine pulled up at the other side of the playground. It was really long. It took two regular sized spots in the parking lot stuck together. The windows were tinted so we couldn't see inside. Mrs. Beard is here, yelled Alessia, who was a girl, but pretty cool anyway. Miss Beard is here, yelled Ryan. Miss Beard is here, Miss Beard is here, yelled Michael and everybody else. In case you were wondering, everybody was yelling that Miss Beard was here. But actually, Miss Beard wasn't here. Not yet, anyway. A bunch of guys got out of the limo. They were carrying cameras and lenses and lights and stuff. A few seconds later, a helicopter came down from the sky and landed on the playground near the limo. A lady got out. "It's Miss Beard!" shouted Mr. Klutz. Miss Beard climbed down from the helicopter and got into the limo. Then the limo drove about 10 yards to where we're all sitting. I guess Miss Beard doesn't like to walk. "Remember," shouted Mr. Klutz, "we want to show Miss Beard what terrific students we are at elementary school. Everybody be on your best behavior." "I'm always on my best behavior," said Andrea. "What is her problem?" Miss Beard got out of the limo and looked around. "Welcome to school," said Mr. Klutz. "I'm sure you'll find our children—" He didn't get to finish his sentence because Miss Beard wasn't paying any attention. "Fabulous! Fabulous, chickie baby," she said. "I love children. They're like grown-ups, only shorter." "We should probably talk about," said Mr. Klutz. "Sure, let's do lunch, chickie baby," said Miss Beard. "Oh, I just had breakfast," said Mr. Klutz. "And my name isn't Chickie Baby, it's Mr. Klutz." "Not now, Chickie Baby," said Miss Beard. "Let's do lunch at lunchtime, sweetie. Have your girl call my girl. We'll take a meeting." She talks funny. The big guys started setting up lights and cameras and microphones everywhere. Miss Beard walked around looking like a general inspecting the tools. "Oh, this is going to be fabulous," she said. "It will be the first reality show that takes place in a school. And ratings are going to go through the roof. Are we going to be famous like Snooky Lady?" asked Andrea. "That depends on what happens, baby," said Miss Beard. "This is reality TV. We don't use scripts. Nobody has any lines. It's all about reality. We'll just have to see what happens." "When does the show begin?" asked Neil the nude kid. "Right now, baby," Miss Beard said, clapping her hands together. Somebody gave her a big microphone and she shouted into it, "Quiet on the set!" Miss Beard called everybody baby. I wonder what she calls real babies. "We're shooting the real teachers of elementary school. Lights! Camera, action!" Chapter 3, Act Normal. Mr. Klutz reminded us again to be on our best behavior. The morning bell rang and we all rushed up the steps and down the hall to our classroom. It was weird with those guys sticking cameras in our faces. "How do I look?" Mr. Granite whispered to us as we walked down the hall. "I'm a little nervous. I've never been on TV before." "You look like a real TV star, Mr. Granite," said Andrea. "What a brown noser." Finally, we got to class and took our seats. There were cameras and cameramen and long sticks with microphones hanging all over the place. Miss Beard sat on a chair in the back of the room. I guess she takes her chair with her everywhere she goes because it had her name on the back of it. Okay, just pretend I'm not here, Miss Beard told Mr. Granite. Act like it's any other day at school. Action! Good morning, boys and girls, said Mr. Granite. Today, we're going to, talk about, the Civil War. Turn to page 23 in your books. We all turn to page 23. The Civil War, Mr. Granite. Continued. It wasn't very, civil at all. Just a little joke there. I mean, can I do that over again, Miss Beard? I messed up. Miss Beard jumped up and put her arm around his shoulder. Granite, baby, you just gotta relax, she said. Just be yourself. Act normal, okay? Let's try it again. Miss Beard went back to her chair and yelled, "Action!" again. The Civil War, said Mr. Granite. It reminds me of a story my grandma told me. Blah, 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 blah. Mr. Granite started telling a story about his grandma. It went on forever. I thought I was gonna die. So, it's hard to sit still without fidgeting, but I kept my feet on the floor and my hands folded on my desk. I didn't want Mr. Granite to call on me, so I made sure not to look at him. That's the first rule of being a kid. Blah 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 blah. Droned Mr. Granite. Suddenly, Andrea raised her hand. Yes, Andrea. Is it true that the Civil War started in 1861 when 11 southern states decided to leave the United States and form their own country called the Confederate States of America? I hate her. That's absolutely right, said Mr. Granite, beaming at Andrea. I can see you've been studying. I always try my hardest, Andrea said. Then she made a big smile right into the camera. Ugh. Why can't a truckload of cameras fall on her head? Beautiful! Cute! Cut! Said Miss Beard. Okay, guys, let's move to the next class. The cameras started packing up their equipment. When will we be on TV? Asked Andrea. Tonight, baby, Miss Beard replied. Eek! We're gonna be on TV tonight? Everybody was freaking out. Chapter 4. Reality is boring. My parents let me stay up late on Monday to watch the real teachers of elementary school. It was cool to see us all on TV, even if I had to look at Andrea's big face hogging the screen the whole time. The first thing that happened on Tuesday morning was that Miss Beard rushed into school with her megaphone and told us we had to take a meeting. Have an assembly. I had to sit next to little Miss Perfect again. I've got some good news and some bad news, Miss Beard announced when everybody was seated. The good news is that 10 million people tuned into the real teachers of elementary school last night. Wow, we all said. Which is Mom upside down. What's the bad news? Asked Mr. Klutz. The bad news is that 9 million of them turned the show off after 5 minutes, said Miss Beard. What? We all asked. Why? Because it was boring, that's why, Miss Beard told us. Nobody wants to watch polite, well-behaved kids being taught by excellent teachers. They can see that all the time at school. I thought the show was supposed to be real, said Mrs. Jaffe. Isn't that why you call it a reality show? Let me tell you a little secret, said Miss Beard. Reality is boring. People don't want to watch reality. They want to be amazed. We've got to show them something they've never seen before. We have to blow their minds. I thought you told us to act normal, said Mr. Granite. Look, said Miss Beard, normal is boring. If you folks can't spice things up, the real teachers of elementary school is going to be canceled. Canceled? Mr. Klutz looked all panicked. Does that mean we won't get the money you promised? That's right, Chicky Baby. Stop calling me Chicky Baby, said Mr. Klutz. If the show is canceled, there goes the music and art programs again, moaned Miss Hannah, our art teacher. There goes the water fountain, moaned Miss Patty. There goes the toilet paper, moaned Ms. Lazar, our custodian. Hey, lighten up, Miss Beard said. I know we can make the real teachers of elementary school into a hit. I have a plan. Trust me. Show business is in my blood. What's the plan? Mr. Klutz asked. We need to save the show. People like winners and losers, Miss Beard said as she got out a large shopping bag. So, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm going to divide a group of teachers into 2 teams. One team will wear hats with antlers on them. They will be called the Musketeers. The other team will wear these hot dog hats, and they will be She should go to the doctor. Hot dog heads? Miss Beard pulled a bunch of hats out of her bag. I'm not wearing a silly hat, announced Mr. Loring, our music teacher. Then you can't be on the show, said Ms. Beard. Where's my silly hat? Asked Mr. Loring. Okay, said Miss Beard. When I call your name, come up on stage. The Musketeers are Ms. Leakey, Miss Hannah, Mr. Loring, Mr. Mackey, Miss Holly, and Mrs. Yonkers. Come on down! We all cheered as the Musketeers ran up to the stage and high-fived each other. The hot dog heads are Mrs. Rupee, Miss Small, Mr. Docker, Mr. Granite, Miss Coco, and Miss Laney. Come on down! The hot dog heads fist bumped each other as they ran up to the stage. They all put on their silly hats, and the cameraman filmed everything. The Musketeers stink, shouted Ms. Laney. The hot dog heads suck eggs, shouted Ms. Holly. I'm glad to see you teachers are getting into the spirit of competition, said Miss Beard. It's not nice to call people names, Andrea said to me. They're not setting a good example for children. Could you possibly be more boring? I asked Andrea. Miss Beard clapped her hands to get everyone's attention. Over the next few days, she said, the Musketeers and the hot dog heads will compete in a series of events. A panel of judges will help decide who is the winner, and people at home will be able to vote too. That's when little Miss Perfect got up to ask a question. Excuse me, Andrea said, but does this have to do with education? Shouldn't we be learning things in school? Boo! Sit down. Everybody was hooting at Andrea, even some of the teachers. Na boo boo on her. It was the greatest moment of my life. Don't worry, Miss Beard said. You're going to be learning plenty. And here's the best part. One by one, the teachers will be eliminated until we're left with just one teacher. That teacher will get the grand prize. A fabulous all-expenses-paid vacation to anywhere in the world. And a year's supply of pork sausages. I love pork sausages, said Ms. Leakey. That reminds me, Miss Beard said as she looked into one of the cameras. Folks, do you like pork sausages? I sure do. And when I want a pork sausage, I reach for Porker's pork sausages. They're the best pork sausages in the world, made with the finest pork and no artificial ingredients. So, when you want a pork sausage, reach for Porker's. Okay, let the games begin. Chapter 5, Elementary Idol. Mr. Klutz sent us to lunch so the teachers could get ready. When we got back to the all-purpose room, the stage was decorated with lots of lights. A big sign reading, Elementary Idol. Miss Beard came out on stage, followed by the Musketeers and the hot dog heads. We all yelled and screamed, but we quieted down when Mr. Klutz made a peace sign, which means shut up. Welcome to Elementary Idol, said Miss Beard. Today we're going to see how well these 12 teachers can sing. Sadly, one of them will be eliminated. Each of the teachers will sing a song, said Miss Beard. Then we'll open up the phone lines so visitors and viewers alike can vote for their favorite. The teacher who gets the fewest votes will be eliminated. Is everyone excited? Yeah! We all screamed. Now, let's meet our judges, said Miss Beard. She picked up a jar filled with slips of paper. She shook it up and down and then picked out 3 of them. Our judges will be Ryan, Andrea, and AJ. Come on down! That's me, Andrea shrieked, jumping up and down. We went running up to the stage and sat at the table. May I ask a question, said Andrea. What does a singing competition have to do with education? I'm glad you asked that question, Andrea, said Miss Beard. Each teacher is going to sing a song about the thing they teach. Let's start with your art teacher, Miss Hannah. Everybody cheered when Miss Hannah went over to the microphone with a guitar. In art, she said, sometimes we use tools to build sculptures. So, I'd like to sing a song called If I Had a Hammer. I knew that song. It's about a guy who wanted a hammer. He sings that if he had a hammer, he would have a hammer and hammer a bunch of stuff all over the world. If that's not dumb, I don't know what is. Miss Hannah sang the hammer song, and when she was done, everybody clapped. Now let's see what our judges think of that, said Miss Beard. Andrea, did you like Miss Hannah's song? I thought it was lovely, said Andrea. I give Miss Hannah a 10. Andrea held up a ping pong paddle with 10 on it, and everybody cheered. A perfect score, said Miss Beard. AJ, how do you rate Miss Hannah? I give her 3, I said, holding up my paddle. That song makes no sense at all. If she wanted a hammer so badly, why didn't she just go to the hardware store and buy one? Hammers don't cost that much, you know. The song isn't about hammers, dumbhead, Andrea said, rolling her eyes. It's about peace. What do you think, Ryan? Asked Ms. Beard. I give Miss Hannah a 6, said Ryan. She said that if she had a hammer, she would hammer in the morning. But I don't think she should hammer in the evening, too. In the dark, she might hit her thumb or hurt herself somehow. Good point, Ryan, said Miss Beard. If she wants peace, she should stop hammering. Yeah. And hammering in the evening would disturb the neighbors, I added. People are trying to sleep at night. They don't want to hear a bunch of hammering. Well said, AJ, said Miss Beard. That's 19 points for Miss Hannah. Everybody cheered. After that, Miss Holly, our Spanish teacher, sang a song called La Bamba. Mr. Docker, our science teacher, sang a song called She Blinded Me with Science. Miss Rupee, our librarian, sang a song about Dewey Decimal Systems. Ms. Laney, our speech teacher, sang a song about the rain in Spain falling mainly on the plane. It made no sense at all. Who cares where it rains in Spain? Mr. Loring, our music teacher, sang a song called Brown Sugar. That was weird. Why would anybody make a song about sugar? After that came our computer teacher, Mrs. Yonkers. I'd like to sing a song about the pork sausages, she said. I borrowed the tune for Home on the Range. It goes like this. Oh, give me some pork with a knife and a fork and potatoes that have been French fried. It makes a great lunch, and I'll eat a whole bunch with a plate full of beans on the side. Porky's pork sausages, I'd rather eat them than go play. And when I am done, I'll take one on a bun to bring home and eat the next day. That was something, wasn't it? Okay, what do you think, judges? Asked Miss Beard. That was wonderful, said Andrea. Who thinks that everything grown-ups do is wonderful? Of course she does. I give it a 10. That was terrible, I said. Deaf people all over the world are grateful right now that they didn't have to hear that. What did that have to do with computers? Asked Ryan. After the 12 teachers had sung a song, the phone lines were opened up and people all over America had the chance to vote for their favorite song. We had to wait a long time while the votes were being counted. Finally, Mrs. Beard came out and announced the results. The people have spoken, she said. 11 of our teachers will move on to the next round. One of you must leave. But before I say who the teacher is, tell me, AJ, what do you think of pork sausages? I'd give them a 10, I said, holding up my paddle. I love them. You heard it here, folks, said Miss Beard. The judges agree that pork sausages are great. Now it's time to reveal which of our teachers got the least votes and will have to leave. The teacher is Mrs. Rupee. Ah! Mrs. Rupee walked off the stage, her head hanging. One teacher eliminated. 10 to go. Chapter 6, Dancing with the Teachers. When we got to the all-purpose room the next morning, there was a big banner across the stage. Dancing with the Teachers. The cameras were started rolling right away, and Ms. Beard leaped up on stage. Yesterday, we saw how well the teachers of elementary school can sing, she said. Today, we're going to see how well they can dance. There are 4 pairs of dancers, 2 teams of musketeers and 2 teams of hot dog heads, Miss Beard announced. So, one of the couples will be eliminated. Andrea, Ryan, and I were called up to be judges again. Our first couple were Mr. Loring and Miss Holly of the Musketeers. Then they'll be dancing with they will be dancing the cha-cha. That looks very weird in contracted braille. Anyway, sorry guys. I didn't really know how to cha-cha, said Mr. Loring. Cha-cha! What kind of name is that for a dance? Me neither, said Mrs. Holly. Terrific, shouted Miss Beard. Start the music. So, some weird cha-cha music started playing. Did you ever see a teacher dance? It's hilarious. You don't believe me? Ask your teacher to get up and dance right now. It'll be hysterical. I guarantee it. Anyway, Miss Holly is really tall and Mr. Loring is really short. They were stumbling all over the place and stepping on each other's feet while they were trying to cha-cha. Ryan and I had to do all we could not to fall off our chairs laughing. I was afraid I was going to pee in my pants. When it was over, everybody clapped and pretended that Mr. Loring and Miss Holly were great dancers. "I'd give them a 10, said Andrea, holding up her ping-pong paddle again. "I give them a 1, I said. "They danced like a pair of water buffalo fighting over a piece of meat." "I give them a 2 for effort, said Ryan. "Okay, that's 13 points, said Miss Beard. "Let's bring on our next couple, Mr. Docker and Miss Coco of the Hot Dog Heads." Everybody cheered. They had to do a dance called the Foxtrot. It didn't look like foxes trotting at all. It looked more like a bad three-legged race. It was embarrassing just to watch it. They weren't quite as awful as Mr. Loring and Miss Holly, but it was still the funniest thing in the history of the world. "We'll give them 16 points, with 10 of them from Andrea, of course. Next up, Mr. Granite and Ms. Laney," said Miss Beard. "They will dance the tango." I don't know what tango means, but it sure didn't look like a dance. It looked like Mr. Granite and Miss Laney were trying to stomp. It looked like they were trying to stomp on cockroaches. We gave them 20 points. The last dance team was Mr. Mackey and Miss Hannah. They had to do some dance called the rumba, and they were actually pretty good at it. Well, they were good for teachers anyway. They got a nice round of applause when they were done, and 25 points. Finally, and thankfully, dancing with the teachers was over. Miss Beard added up the scores. "If you ask me, all of these teachers are winners," she announced. "But 2 of you must be eliminated today. I'm sorry, but Miss Holly and Mr. Loring will have to go home." 3 teachers eliminated, 8 to go. Chapter 7. The Stunt Teacher. We were told to go back to class until the end of the day. Mr. Granite was happy about that. He said we could finally get something done. Today we're going to talk about, but he never got the chance to finish his sentence because you'll never believe who came running into the door at that moment. Nobody! Why would anybody run into a door? That would hurt, but you'll never believe who came running into the doorway. It was Miss Beard and the camera crew. "Granite, baby," she said, threading her arm around Mr. Granite's shoulders. "I felt bad about what happened when we filmed your class yesterday. I want to give you another chance to be a star." "Oh, okay," said Mr. Granite. All the lights and cameras were set up, and Miss Beard yelled, "Action!" "Today we're going to talk about fractions," Mr. Granite told us. A fraction is a number that expresses part of a group. The number above the line is called the numerator. The number below the line is called the... "Cut!" Miss Beard yelled. "Granite, baby, you're putting everybody to sleep with that fraction mumbo-jumbo. Try it again, and this time, put a little pizzazz in it. Will you?" Okay, I'll try. Action! If two fractions have the same denominator, said Mr. Granite, their sum is the sum of the numerators over the denominator. Cut! Hollered Miss Beard. Bring in the stunt teacher. What? Shouted Mr. Granite. Stunt teacher? I'm sorry, Granite baby, but this isn't working, said Miss Beard. I gotta bring in somebody who can grab viewers by the eyeballs. You can't do that, protested Mr. Granite. I spent years learning to teach math. Chill, baby. It's temporary, said Miss Beard. Where's my stunt teacher? Where is Mr. Brown? Suddenly, a guy came walking into the class on his hands. He did a somersault like a cartwheel and jumped up onto Mr. Granite's desk. He was had a big red nose and orange hair sticking out both sides. Hi, boys and girls, he said in a funny voice, honking his nose. Mr. Brown's a clown, I shouted. You can call me Brownie the Clowny, Mr. Granite. Mr. Granite stood there staring with his mouth open. Brownie smiled. Then skipped out of the room and came back with a plate full of pies. Fractions are fun, kids, he said. If I cut this banana cream pie into 8 slices and I eat one of them, how much of the pie did I eat? 1/8, yelled Alessia, who is really good in math. Right, said Brownie. And if I were to take 2 slices of this pie and throw them at your teacher, how much of the pie would I throw? 1/4, shouted Alessia. 2/8 is the same as 1/4. Right, shouted Brownie. Then he picked up 2 pieces of the pie and threw them at Mr. Granite. They hit him right in the head. Banana cream was dripping down his face. Mr. Granite looked like he was going to explode. I've never seen him so mad. What if I took a whole pie, Mr. Granite shouted, and shoved it in your clowny face? Mr. Granite picked up one of the pies and pushed it into Brownie's face. It was cool. Then Brownie picked up another pie and threw it at Mr. Granite. But he ducked and the pie hit Emily in the face instead. She was on the floor freaking out. Then she went running out of the room. What a crybaby. Food fight, we all hollered. Mr. Granite and Brownie, the clown, were furiously grabbing hunks of pie and throwing them at each other. Gobs of banana cream were flying all over the classroom. When they ran out of pies to throw, Brownie the clown and Mr. Granite started wrestling on the floor. It was a real knockout. Andrea pulled Miss Beard off to one side. I really don't think this is going to help anybody learn about fractions, said Andrea told her. Who cares, replied Miss Beard. It makes great TV. The ratings will be through the roof. Chapter 8. Free for all. When we got to school the next day, everybody was told to go around to the playground. And you'll never believe in 1,100 years what was back there. A giant swimming pool, and it was filled with mud. Welcome to the Real teachers of elementary school, Miss Beard said into the camera. We know the teachers here are great singers and dancers. Today, we're going to see if they're any good at mud wrestling. Yay, everybody said, except for Andrea, who was rolling her eyes and looking disgusted. The teachers were standing at the edge of the pool, wearing bikinis. It was hilarious. Believe me, Mr. Docker does not look good in a bikini. When I blow my whistle, all the teachers will jump into the pool, said Miss Beard. The first 4 teachers who climb out will advance to the next round. The others will be eliminated. Is everybody ready? This is going to be cool, I said to Michael. What are we going to learn from this? Asked Andrea. It doesn't sound very educational to me. Oh, that's where you're wrong, said Miss Beard. While the teachers are mud wrestling, they all have to recite multiplication tables. On your mark, get set, go! Miss Beard blew her whistle, and the teachers jumped into the pool. We all started yelling and screaming. As soon as Miss Small landed in the mud, she started climbing out of the pool, but Mr. Mackey grabbed her before she reached the edge and threw her into the mud. It was complete. She was completely covered in mud after that. Then Mr. Mackey tried to climb out of the pool, but Ms. Laney grabbed his leg and he fell back face first into the mud. He made a big splat. Don't forget about your times tables, shouted Miss Beard. 1 times 3 is 3, yelled Miss Leakey as she grabbed Miss Coco and put her in a headlock. 2 times 3 is 6, yelled Mr. Granite as he dived on top of Mrs. Yonkers. He dived on top of Mrs. Yonkers. Mud was flying everywhere. Every time one of the teachers tried to climb out of the pool, one of the other teachers would pull them back into the mud. It was getting hard to tell who was who because of all the teachers were brown with slimy mud. 3 times 3 is 9, yelled Miss Hannah as she got hit with a mud pie in the face. 4 times 3 is 12, yelled Miss Laney as she belly flopped into the swamp. Whoa! Those teachers are great wrestlers, shouted Miss Beard, and they really know their times tables. Finally, Ms. Leachy and Mr. Mackey teamed up to dunk Miss Coco, and they managed to climb out of the pool together. Eat mud, you hot dog heads, shouted Mr. Mackey. The Musketeers rule the pool. While they were celebrating, Mr. Granite and Miss Small climbed out on the other end of the pool together. Miss Beard blew her whistle to signal that the game was over. Okay, she shouted. The winners are Miss Leakey and Mr. Mackey of the Musketeers and Miss Small and Mr. Granite of the Hot Dog Heads. The other teachers are eliminated. Let's give all of our teachers and wrestlers a big round of applause. We all cheered and whistled and jumped up and down. Mr. Docker, Miss Coco, Miss Laney, Miss Hannah, and Mrs. Yonkers slowly climbed out of the pool, covered from head to toe with yucky mud. They looked like a bunch of chocolate Easter bunnies. Chapter 9. We're out of here. We got to school the next day. Miss Beard was all excited. She told us that every night millions of people were tuning in to the real teachers of elementary school on TV. Everybody wanted to see who was going to be the winner. The ratings are through the roof, she said. There were just 4 teachers left. Mr. Mackey and Ms. Leakey of the Musketeers, and Ms. Small and Mr. Granite of the Hot Dog Heads. After all the singing, dancing, and mud wrestling, they were worn out, tired, and maybe even a little cranky. Okay, Miss Beard announced to the camera. Today, our teachers are going to bake cakes. The teacher who bakes the best cake, she didn't get the chance to finish her sentence. That's dumb, yelled Miss Small. I don't want to bake a cake. Me neither, said Mr. Mackey. I don't know the first thing about baking cake, said Miss Leakey. This is ridiculous, said Mr. Granite. What could baking cakes possibly have to do with education? Nothing, replied Miss Beard, but our research shows that people like to watch other people bake cakes on TV. Well, we're not doing it, announced Mr. Granite. Yeah, said Miss Small. If I have to bake a cake, I'm out of here. Me too, said Mr. Granite. Find us something else to do. Okay, said Miss Beard. Today, our teachers are going to eat bugs. The teacher who eats the most bugs... I'm not eating bugs, yelled Mr. Mackey. He was really mad. But our research shows that next to baking cakes, the one thing people who watch most of these shows on TV is watching other people eat bugs, said Miss Beard. I don't care what our research shows, shouted Mr. Mackey. I am not eating bugs, and, by the way, that's my final answer. I've had enough of reality TV, said Mr. Granite. I quit. What if we had a tug of war, suggested Miss Beard, and the team that loses falls into a pit filled with Porky's pork sausages? No, all 4 teachers replied. Look, Mr. Mackey said, we're not falling into any pits, we're not going to eat any bugs, and we're not going to bake cakes or wrestle in mud anymore. We're sick of your dumb games, so we're leaving now. Don't you care about winning? No. The 4 teachers got up to leave. Wait, shouted Miss Beard, stopping them. Okay, I get it. I won't make you bake cakes or eat bugs or fall into pits of pork sausages. But if you stay, I'll donate another $1 million to the school. They stopped. What's the catch? Asked Miss Small. You'll have to do the most challenging, frightening, and humiliating thing anyone has ever done on TV, said Miss Beard. What? Asked the teachers. And you'll never believe in 1,100,000 years what the teachers would have to do. I'm not going to tell you. Okay, I'll tell you. But you have to read the next chapter to find out. Na-na-na-boo-boo on you. Chapter 10. Very funny. You have to tell jokes, announced Miss Beard. Jokes! Oh, that's no big deal, said Ms. Leakey. I know lots of jokes. Me too, said Mr. Granite. Here are the rules, announced Ms. Beard. The four of you can tell 3 jokes each. Then we'll open up the phone lines and the viewers will vote for the funniest teacher. 2 of you will advance to the next round and 2 of you will go home. Got it? Let's get cracking. Joke cracking, that is. All the lights went out except for a spotlight on the microphone. Mr. Granite stepped up to it. What kind of bone will a dog never eat? Asked Mr. Granite. What kind? We all yelled. A trombone, said Mr. Granite. He waited until the chuckles died down to tell his next joke. Who can shave 25 times a day and still have a beard? Who? We all shouted. A barber, said Mr. Granite. Did you hear about the fire at the circus? No, we all shouted. It was intense, said Mr. Granite. We gave Mr. Granite a standing ovation. He bowed and Miss Leakey stepped up to the microphone. Have you heard about the new corduroy pillows? She asked. They're making headlines, but seriously. Folks, do you know what Mary is short for? What? Who? We all shouted. She's got 2 legs, said Miss Leakey, and they're short. Hey. Why was John walking backward on the first day of school? Why? We all shouted. It was back to school time, said Miss Leakey. Thank you. You've been a wonderful audience. That was terrific, said Miss Beard over the applause. Let's bring out the next comedian. Mr. Mackey stepped up to the microphone. Do you kids know what the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans are to each other? He asked. What? We all called. Northing, said Mr. Mackey. They just waved. Hey. Why do gorillas have big nostrils? Why? We all shouted. Because gorillas have big fingers, said Mr. Mackey. Say, how are a chicken and a grape alike? How? We all shouted. They're both purple, said Mr. Mackey, except for the chicken. Good one, said Miss Beard. And last but not least, how about a round of applause for your gym teacher, Miss Small? Miss Small stepped out and up to the microphone. What has 4 legs, is big, green, fuzzy, and if it fell out of a tree, would kill you? She asked. What? We all shouted. A pool table, said Miss Small. Do you kids know why a bicycle can't stand by itself? Why? We all shouted. It's too tired, said Miss Small. Hey! What's Irish and sits out in the backyard? What? We all shouted. Patio furniture, said. The teachers weren't all that funny, but we laughed anyway because it's funny watching teachers tell jokes. Just like it's funny watching teachers sing, dance, and mud wrestle. Actually, watching teachers do anything besides teaching is fun. Miss Beard announced that the phone lines were open and millions and hundreds of people started calling in. We had to sit and wait forever while the votes were counted. Then we had to sit through another commercial for Porky's Pork Sausages. After this, there would only be 2 teachers left. Andrea said to me, "Isn't this exciting, Arlo?" "No," I replied. Actually, it was really exciting, but anytime Andrea says anything, I always say the opposite thing. That's the first rule of being me. Finally, the phone lines were closed. Ms. Beard stepped up to the microphone with a piece of paper. "I have the results," she announced. "America has spoken. Our last 2 teachers are," drum roll please, "Mr. Granite and Ms. Leakey." Chapter 11. Grab that cash. So, after a week of competition, there were only 2 teachers left. Mr. Granite and of the Hot Dog Heads and Ms. Leakey of the Musketeers. The next night, we all gathered in the all-purpose room for the final episode of The Real Teachers of Elementary School. Millions of people were watching on TV. There was electricity in the air. Well, not really. If there had been electricity in the air, we could have been electrocuted. But it was really exciting. Welcome to the final episode of The Real Teachers of Elementary School. I'm your host, Miss Beard. Everybody clapped and stomped their feet. Some kids were holding up signs like, "Ms. Leakey is freaky," and "Mr. Granite's from another planet." "Go, Mr. Granite," I shouted. "You can do it, Miss Leakey," shouted somebody else. 2 big booths, I guess. 2 big booths were wheeled out on stage. They looked like old-fashioned phone booths that had before everybody used cell phones. The doors were opened. Mr. Granite and Ms. Leakey each got into a booth. The microphones. So, there were microphones, so we could hear what was being said. "Are you too nervous?" asked Ms. Beard. "A little, yeah," said Mr. Granite. "Not me," said Miss Leakey. "I'm ready for anything." "Great," said Miss Beard. "This game is simple. We're going to open the top of the booths, open the top of both booths. I gotta get my tongue twister thing going again. And drop hundreds of dollar bills on you. When I say go, start grabbing the bills. Whoever grabs the most money in 5 minutes will be the winner of The Real Teachers of Elementary School." Yay! "That doesn't look so hard," I whispered to Alessia, who was sitting next to me. 2 guys climbed up on the ladders and opened the tops of the booths. Then they dropped garbage cans full of dollar bills into them. "Can we get started?" asked Mr. Granite. "Not yet," said Miss Beard. "Okay, guys, drop the glue." "Glue?" The guys on the ladders took hoses and pointed them down into the booths. Then they turned the hoses on and squirted thick globs of glue all over Mr. Granite and Miss Leakey until they were completely covered. "Yuck! Yuck! Disgusting!" "Can we get started now?" asked Miss Leakey. "Not yet," said Miss Beard. "Okay, guys, turn on the fans." Fans? There must have been fans in the bottom of the booths because suddenly there was a loud whooshing sound and the dollar bills started swirling all over the place. Okay, now you can get started," shouted Miss Beard. cash. Mr. Granite and Miss Leakey started flailing around trying to snatch the money that was flying all over the place. Some of the bills stuck to their clothes. Some of it stuck to their faces. Mr. Granite was stuffing dollar bills into his pockets. Ms. Leakey was stuffing them down her shirt. "This doesn't seem very educational to me," said Andrea. But it was hilarious, and we got to see it live and in person. You should have been there. "Go, go, go!" we all shouted. "Grab that cash!" After 5 minutes, a buzzer sounded. The fans were turned off, and the money floated down to the bottom. Ms. Leakey and Mr. Granite staggered out of the booths like they were drunk. Some money and glue stuck all over them. Everybody clapped. That was great," Miss Beard said, sticking the microphone into their faces. "How do you feel?" Said Mr. Granite. His mouth was full of dollar bills that he couldn't take, so he couldn't talk very well. The bills were peeled off and collected so they could be counted to find out who had the most. It took a long time. We had to sit there for a bunch of commercials for Porky's pork sausages, but everyone was excited. We were on point. We were on pins and needles. Well, not really. We were sitting on chairs. If we were on pins and needles, that would hurt. Yes, it would. Finally, Miss Beard came out with an envelope in her hand. A hush fell over the all-purpose room. "Well," she said, as she tore open the envelope, "this is the moment you've been waiting for. America!" We tallied up all the money. Mr. Granite grabbed $256. "Yay!" all the kids in my class shouted. And Ms. Leakey grabbed $324, shouted Miss Beard. The winner of the Real Teachers of Elementary School is Ms. Leakey. But aside, it probably wouldn't have hurt as much as it would have if there was electricity in the air. Everybody started yelling and screaming and clapping their hands and jumping up and down, freaking out. About 1,100,000,000,000 balloons fell from the ceiling. Ms. Leakey and Mr. Granite hugged each other. They had a hard time separating after that because they were covered with glue. Everybody laughed. "Mr. Granite, you get to keep all the cash that you grabbed," said Miss Beard. "And Ms. Leakey, you only get to keep your cash, but you also win an all-expenses-paid vacation to anywhere in the world. How do you feel?" "I don't know what to say," said Miss Leakey, as she tried to wipe the tears off her face and the glue off as well. "Don't forget you also win a year's supply of Porky's pork sausages," said Miss Beard. "I love pork sausages," shouted Miss Leakey. Well, that's pretty much what happened. The Real Teachers of Elementary School was a big hit on TV. Miss Beard bought lots of computers and pencils and notebooks and toilet paper for our school. After it was all over, we found out that Ms. Beard owned the Porky's Pork Sausage Company. Maybe Miss Leakey will use her pork sausages, or share her pork sausages with us. Maybe Miss Beard will stop calling Mr. Klutz Chicky Baby. Maybe they'll make a TV show about Emily's toenails. Maybe that guy will go to a hardware store and buy himself a hammer instead of just singing about how he wants one all the time. Maybe the teachers will learn how to cha-cha. Maybe Brownie the Clowny will teach us more about fractions. Maybe we'll get to mud wrestle during phys ed class. Maybe they'll take the electricity out of the air before somebody gets electrocuted. Maybe Mr. Granite will be able to finish a lesson for once. But it won't be easy. The end. I hate when that hold the phone, that's not over. Chapter 12. I hate when that happens. Oh, I forgot to tell you something. After the real teachers of elementary school was on TV, we were all celebrities. Big sacks full of fan mail started arriving at my house. Reporters wanted to interview me. People began using me for asking me for autographs. That was cool. Well, it was cool in the beginning, anyway. After a while, it got to be annoying. Now, I can barely go outside without being chased down the street by my fans. You don't believe me? Watch this. I'm gonna step outside for a minute right now. Look, it's him! It's AJ from the Real Teachers of Elementary School. I love him. Uh-oh. That was a big mistake. Can I have your autograph? Here, can I have your autograph? He's cuter than Justin Bieber. AJ, I want to marry you. I want a lock of his hair. Get him, get him! Oh no, I've got to make a run for it. They're chasing me down the street like wild dogs. I'm out of breath. What's that noise? It's up in the sky. It sounds like oh no! There's a helicopter following me. It's from the TV station. They're pointing big searchlights at me. It's getting louder, louder, louder. What am I gonna do? Help! The helicopter's landing on my head. And that's the end. All right, well, that was interesting and amusing and kind of painful to read. I guess I haven't had a lot of practice, and my fingers are slightly unbraillified. Anyway, hopefully you suffered through that and kind of sort of maybe enjoyed it. And if you could see past my schnoz, I moved my basement around a little bit. Well, not the basement itself, the stuff in it. Anyway, I'm out of here. See what the weather's like outside. Maybe throw something on the barbecue for supper. So until next time, bye.
Switch on. Take picture. Take picture. Stop recording video.